political accountability, that's where we need to start, because that's what this is about, the next mayor of Los Angeles, but it's also about a black agenda, but it affects all of us. So I would like to turn it over to you, Congresswoman, on the subject of political accountability. And I think for even some of the younger persons in the audience and even some of our elders, they may say, well, what does that mean? That's such a broad term. So I'd like the Congresswoman to elaborate and let us know how we should hold our politicians accountable, and her herself, who is one of the most accountable persons, how she holds herself accountable as an example. So, Congresswoman, please let us know. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It is my pleasure and honor to be here in West LA College, one of the jewels of our community that I know many of our community know because of the African American population here on this campus. And I really want to thank the president because, you know, not only is he the president of West LA College, but you've only been here for a short period of time. And one thing I have to say about you is that he's always in the community. You might not realize that, but he is always at so many of our events. And I really appreciate the way you have held yourself accountable by being a new president and taking the time to get to know the area and especially know who are the students and what community they come from. So I really want to appreciate you for doing that. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge Starlet and Stephen. Starlet, with the work that you do on the radio and just in the community, you've really been exemplary. And I love working with Starlet because I think one of the most important things that we have to do in my generation is really pay attention to the next generation of leadership and do everything that we can to promote, facilitate, and assist with their development, because we need them to lead in so many different areas. And I think Starlet and Brandon and Steve are an absolute example of that. I have to say that I am honored and humbled that you would ask me to do this on political accountability. It is something that's very important to me. I never perceived myself as being an expert in political accountability, but okay. There's 3 points that I would like to make about that. I think that when, and people, you know, I talk to people all the time who are interested in running for office, and sometimes I can have a whole conversation with them, and then at the end of the conversation say, well, okay, but what's your agenda? Why do you want to be in office? What is it that you specifically want to accomplish? And I think that, and especially because I do try to spend a lot of time developing young leaders, is really try to make sure that they focus on being involved in the community, learning the issues, and coming up with a specific, concrete agenda. It's great to say you want to run for office or be in office because you want to change the world, you want world peace, you want to end poverty. But, okay, what part of poverty are you going to take up? And specifically, what are you going to do? And I think that oftentimes we get caught up in leadership as celebrity, as opposed to leadership as to what is your agenda and what are you trying to accomplish. I know we're going to hear in a few minutes from Councilwoman Perry, and I know and I hope and I'm sure that you are going to give very specific examples of how you've led around economic development and specifically what you can do. And so I think it's just really important that when we have people run for office, number one, that we begin to identify who we want to run for office as opposed for people self-selecting. And if we encourage people to run and say, this is the person we want to see run, now let's all jump on them and make them run, because that's kind of what happened to me. Right. Then I think it's a different, you know, it's a different tone that's set. The second point I want to make is that I think oftentimes the community doesn't quite understand what an elected official can and can't do. I know I'm called on to do all sorts of things that I have absolutely no power to do. One thing that I have to say, I was disappointed. I go to Sacramento, they don't give earmarks anymore. I go to Washington, they don't give earmarks. So people remember back in the day when a congressperson like Julian Dixon, for example, who was wonderful in bringing earmarks to our community, millions of dollars in transportation. I can't do that. You know, I'm in Congress with the Tea Party. They don't even believe in government. They ban earmarks. I can't bring the bacon home yet. I do believe that that's going to change. Are people wanting me to get involved in a different level of government that I truly have no authority over? But there are things that I can do. For example, and I'm not sure if Dr. Karenga is going to mention it, so I am. You know, he's in a situation right now where his department is under threat. The Afrikaner Studies Department at Long Beach. Well, I have absolutely no authority there, but what I can do is I can talk to my colleagues, we can do a letter, you know, it can come from Congress, sometimes that means a lot to people, whatever, you know, or make phone calls. So I might not be able to deliver the solution, but I can advocate. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Us learning what an elected official can do and can't do, I think is really, really critical when we ask them to have an agenda. And then the third point is, please help.
Right.
I mean, I will never
That's right.
forget my first year in office. After I was elected, I expect, you know, all these people came together and helped me get elected, and then they all went home. And I was like, hey, you guys sent me to Sacramento. Come on now. You know, when Councilwoman Perry has a project that she's trying to get done, and she's being beat up because the other council members don't want it because they want it in their district or whatever, then it's part of our responsibility to say, go put your neck out on the line, but I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to testify. We're going to jam council, you know, the city hall. We're going to make sure that we're there. So my 3 points. Elected officials should have an agenda before they get there. It should be specific. They should be able to report to you on the progress on that agenda. 2, as a community, we need to understand what elected officials can and cannot do. And then 3, we need to continue to be involved and not expect for people to get elected to office like we did our poor president, and then he was going to go off and be a messiah. Thank you.
That's right.